Hey guys, what's up? First of all, I just want to officially welcome you guys to the Fit Chick Project. Over the next 30 days, you guys are going to learn all about how some of the coolest, world's fittest athletes and top industry experts on how they've transitioned from killing themselves in the gym and slaving away in the kitchen to living a life with more freedom and balance around the gym and food, all while maintaining their physique. This project consists of 30 powerful interviews, giving away millions of dollars in advice, personal experience, and action steps that you guys can apply immediately so that you can start living in a way where you are no longer burdened and attached to rigid diet and workout plans. So here we go for day number one. I am so excited about this one. Today we have on top 10 CrossFit Games competitor, Emily Abbott. And she's going to be sharing what her transition has been like from being a very calculated, driven athlete to a more divine feminine. You're going to learn all about what that means. And I can personally relate to Abbott's journey on so many levels. And I was just so honored when she said yes to this project because I know how powerful this can be for you guys. Some of my favorite lessons that she shared were how being a CrossFit athlete was an impossible standard to chase, where she was always constantly chasing leanness, certain strength, a certain speed, self-worth, and it just was never enough. We also talked about what CrossFit taught her and what she's really been grateful for. Also, how she was able to pull back from training 6 hours a day to just training 1 hour a day while looking and still feeling her best. We also talked about the journey that's taught her how to live with her heart instead of her head, how she's been able to stay lean without tracking food or eating mindlessly, why stillness is the most important, powerful thing that you could implement in your daily routine, and so much more, guys. So check her out. Make sure you watch the video, and you also give her a follow and follow her wisdom, her journey on Instagram at emily.ann.abbott, and also on her website where she does retreats and all sorts of stuff like that. So make sure you guys listen in. Let me know what your biggest takeaways are. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say.
Sweet. Well, thanks for doing this with me, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm just like I stayed up a little bit too late last night. I like to do that maybe like once a week.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, get me.
I'm done.
You're making me yawn now too. Cool. That just makes it a lot more chill.
Mhm.
Dude, yeah, so basically like first off, I just think your journey is freaking amazing. I love it. I love,
Thank
yeah,
you.
seeing you, following you, and yeah, I'm curious to just learn more about like what your transition's been like.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like it's been really similar, or I've had one really similar to yours.
Hmm.
Like just kind of more enlightening and trying to find the fun and love of everything. And so yeah, I'm just the whole point of this project is to help women, like teach women how they can like find more balance and freedom,
Mm.
while staying fit,
Hmm.
rather than being sort of like constantly obsessed with how much time in the gym and obsessing over macros and that whole life.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. I think that it's always good to meet people who've been through some hard times and keep breaking through and just getting better and learning from it. And yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, so let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and we'll just kind of like start the show and then basically, um, well, I mean, I don't know how you have till 10, right?
Yeah, I actually have class, online
At,
class at
at 10.
like an hour.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we got to be off at what time? 9:50,
Yeah,
9:55.
that
Okay.
sounds good.
Okay, cool. Awesome, dude. All right. So, and then basically like right when I'm done, like I'll be like, all right, well, thanks for being on the show. And, you'll have a chance to like promote, I know you do retreats and stuff like that. So you'll have a
Yeah,
chance to promote that.
cool.
Or, your Instagram as well. And then I'll hit end and then we can just kind of like end, our conversation after that.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
cool. All right, guys. So, welcome back to the Fit Chick Project. Today we have on Emily Abbott, and I couldn't be more excited to have her on. Welcome to the show, Em.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you bet, girl. We are so fortunate to have you on here. So we are going to actually just kind of start off just with like some icebreaker questions. I just like just some random questions, and I think like everybody's always curious to know like you know, like what kind of food everybody likes. So let's just start off like, what is your favorite sort of low calorie treat? Like if you're trying to keep things tight, you know, lean out or whatever, what's your kind of go-to low calorie treat?
So basically I have this thing for raw heavy cream, and right now I'm in California, and so they sell raw heavy cream. It's amazing. So I put that over like a bowl of fresh fruit, just kind of like drizzle it on, maybe put some cacao on top of that, and it's like an orgasm in a bowl. It's so good.
That sounds really good. That
Yeah,
sounds really good.
yeah. So that's like kind of my go-to when I don't, or a scoop of honey when I don't want to like, go crazy on something.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. You keep
Mhm.
it natural.
Yeah, yeah. I always try to like, I'm really on this big whole food like kick, just like the highest vibrational food I can get my hands on. And that makes me feel incredible. So during the week, yeah, I'll have like yeah, either honey or really, really dark chocolate or berries and cream. But I have been doing something called Fuck Off Fridays where I just go have a little more fun. That's been awesome too. So
Nice, nice. We'll dive into that too because I'm curious to know
yeah.
what that entails. All right, and then so let's say like high cal treat, like if you're just like, you know, on a fuck off Friday, like what would be your go-to food?
Mm, probably like pizza or ice cream for
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, some of the traditional stuff.
Yeah,
Cool.
exactly.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. I've been eating quite a lot more treats lately. So like I mean recently I had churros and that was awesome.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Nice.
Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. All right. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm so excited. So we're going to just start off with first kind of talking about your athletic career. And I just to kind of show people like, you know, where you came from, like, you know, what your competition history looked like. And so let's go ahead. What was your highest ranking at the CrossFit Games or out
I
of
got
CrossFit?
I got 8th in the world in 2015. Yeah, and that was a gnarly year for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long were you like really training for the games?
I started getting into CrossFit in 2012, actually, after I graduated from university, and I had played collegiate basketball in Canada, and we won a couple of national champions. So I was just like super hard driven, like wanted the next challenge, and CrossFit was kind of shown to me, and I'm like, hey, this is great because I love lifting weights and pushing myself. And so yeah, 2012, I started like kind of dabbling, and then 2013 it got serious, and then 2014 I made it to the games because that was when I was kind of like in Canada at the right time in the West, kind of like an up and comer, and just got swept up into it. So
Okay, cool.
right, is
And
that right? Yeah, I think that's right.
okay, cool. And like, what did that look like? What did training look like? What did it require? You know, what did a typical training session and your diet?
um, I was doing a ton of Olympic weightlifting because I just knew I had to get really strong if I wanted to compete with the best. So it would be a lot of like Olympic weightlifting with then just like some conditioning at the end, some kind of metabolic conditioning. I probably particularly on Saturdays were a big training day, but most of the time it was like 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think like knowing what I know now, I probably wouldn't have trained like that, but it's an evolution, right? Um, and my diet was like I just ate. I grew up in a home where I had a lot of really good food. My mom was really into food, so we always ate great food. And so I knew like I had gone paleo for a while, but then when I started training CrossFit like seriously, that's when I just ate good carbs, the best carbs I could find, like rice, potatoes. I didn't do gluten, I didn't do dairy, and yeah, I would just eat
Mm-hmm.
and train. It was fun.
Did you get hooked up in the whole macros thing? Like you didn't do
Okay, so,
macros? Oh,
no, so I didn't do macros until my last 3 months of competing.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, because everyone's like, yeah, you should probably get on macros. And I was like, I just didn't for the longest time because I was like, I don't want to weigh stuff. Like, and
Yeah.
but then I did start doing macros. And I was like, oh yeah, I can see how this for performance purposes really is helpful. But yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't do it for the longest time because I guess maybe I thought that like intuitively I knew what I needed to eat, but
Yeah.
when I did start macros, I was pretty close. I was probably just like eating more fat than I probably, to
Hmm.
get a certain body style or body,
Right.
but
Right.
yeah. So I didn't do macros for a long time. But what's interesting
Mhm.
about that, if I was to go on a tangent right now, is that just doing it for that couple of months, it totally, I can see the psychological effect it has on people.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I went traveling for 3 months after all that CrossFit stuff went down.
Uh-huh.
And, so I just did whatever. And then I came back and I felt this need to get back on macros because it's like, it is this like form of
Control.
control. Yeah.
Hmm.
But luckily I ran into a friend who she had gotten into like an eating disorder from macro counting, and she's like,
Hmm.
she kind of told me her story, and then I went home that night and I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to eat like this.
Yeah.
But it's just not for me. So
Yeah.
that was kind of my journey with the whole macro
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, and I think it can easily get taken out of hand, especially I think especially for CrossFit type women that
Mm,
are very like regimented and want control, and yeah, it can very, I see a lot that it, like, people just become so obsessed with it that they lose their connection, right? They lose that connection with, like, are they even hungry, you know? Versus
yeah.
just following numbers.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think, like, in everything in life, you have to strike that middle path of, like, so now when I eat, I'm like, okay, I've maybe just a little bit more conscious of, like, "Hey, I've had, like, avocado and bacon and, like, cod liver this morning. That's probably, quite a bit of fat. Maybe I'll just, like, eat more on the other, like, a little bit more meat today," or whatever, but
Mhm.
um, I guess I just and I've also experimented with other ways of eating too. So I agree. I think that deep down, like, it's kind of can become a dark passenger for us, and like,
Mhm.
really, like, why do we want to be so lean? Why are we trying to shrink ourselves all the time? It's, women are supposed to have curves. We're supposed to have high body fat, and I think that's sexy. And
Mhm.
so yeah, sorry, we just kind of jumped into this, but it's like,
No, it's good.
that's what I think. Um, Personally, like, my journey with CrossFit, like, obviously I loved it. Like, I loved working hard. I know you did too. Like, it was so much fun, like, competing. But it was also this impossible standard that was always changing, and
Mm.
it was, you had to have a certain body type to fit that. And
Yeah.
so it really became a question of, like, am I worthy? And I'm chasing this impossible standard. And I
Yeah.
was chasing other impossible things in my life, and I would beat myself up for not achieving it. So it's like,
Mhm.
whoa, okay, I have to totally shift my paradigm of and give myself grace and forgiveness
Mhm.
and more self love. So really, like, CrossFit was a mirror for maybe some deep seated self limiting beliefs. And
Mhm.
once I kind of got my spiritual 2x4 and it shook me awake, it was like, hey, you got to look inward, which is an incredible thing that CrossFit did, right? It really did help me
Right.
go inward, go deep, and shine light on all the shadows that were kind of hanging out in my body. And for
Mhm.
me, I think for women in general, this is our responsibility because we hold all of our issues in our tissues. So do men, but we do in a very special way. In the fact that we have a womb and everything gets stored here, and we're very
Mhm.
connected to our emotions. We're cyclical beings, and uh, so it's really important for us. It's our responsibility to dive down and in to kind of reclaim our entire body and our entire inhabit this entire body and love every part of it. So,
Mhm.
because we, collectively, generationally, we're carrying a lot. And so the CrossFit journey has helped me come from this very hyper masculine expression of myself, which is control, get better every day, linear, outward expression, to be like, okay, swing the other way into maybe a hyper feminine state where it's like, I'm just going to listen to my body. I'm going to curl up in a blanket, like inward, really nurture myself, feel my emotions, be like, totally love that, the divine feminine energy. And then again, like macros, like any kind of food, find that middle path between those two
Yeah.
primordial energies. So, whew, that felt good to say.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I think like, well, actually I'm curious, okay, because I didn't even know this sort of, you call it the feminine side. I don't know what to call it, okay, but I feel it, and I feel like I'm definitely living it, and but I didn't even know it existed. So like, did you know that when you were in CrossFit? Like, did you know this other side of you, or that this other world where things weren't as hard?
Yeah, well, and it's great. You can call it like embodiment. You can call it being in right brain as opposed to left brain, which is our logical. You can call it whatever you want, but it is this. It's feeling presence and it's feeling flow. That is by nature like the divine feminine. And when I was no, I don't think I ever knew about it because I had been an athlete since I was 9 years old, and I had basically all male coaches, a couple female coaches in there. But they were coming from kind of a wounded place as well, you know, and they kind of, it's really those formative years, I was just told that like in order to get attention and or love, you know, and I also internalize these things. I'm not like blaming my whole environment, but it was, you have to perform. And so
Mhm.
I really deeply internalized that. Even if maybe people didn't expect that from me,
Yeah.
I had this inner adolescent athlete coach critic that was driving me to do everything. And I I remember in my last 2 years of CrossFit, I was like emotionally not in a good place because I was always ignoring everything my body was telling me. I was always
Yeah.
ignoring this
Right.
call. Like I needed this. I had this call to be wild, and all of a sudden I was like literally in a box all day training. Right?
Literally. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had no idea that there was something rumbling me in me to express like another way of being, like this a very hippie, wild woman side of myself. But I had no idea how to nurture that. I had no tools, right? I knew how
Right.
to work out, and I knew when I was in emotional pain, work out. When I was in
Right.
physical pain, work out, you know?
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, it was definitely, it was like from where I am now, and I'm still evolving, but where I am now to then, this is why I'm so passionate about the path I'm on, is that if we can teach female athletes, like young, how to honor all these aspects of them, that like, hey, when you need to cry and rest. Like, you need to
Yeah.
know your body better than everyone around you, because you need to be able to make the sovereign decisions you need to make. And for example, like not training on your period at all, your uterus expands twice its size and it becomes heavier, and we shouldn't be doing any high impact things. So it's just these little and this, it's not the fault of anybody. It's just that in the current paradigm we're in, we are told as women to be successful in this world, you have to be driven and hard like a man, but that is not
Mm-hmm.
true. And what I've
Mm-hmm.
learned is that we just have to really go deep into our feminine natures, our right brain, our embodiment. And that's where our power lies, in our surrender, in our openness, in our ability to receive and rejuvenate. And also, and then we're able to complementary express that with another, like the divine masculine within ourselves and within another.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I had no idea that there was like this, something was crying out in me, and I know the divine. Like I'm quite spiritual, but I do believe that everything unfolded as it was, and this was me getting kicked out of CrossFit, me having like a really hard relationship, of an unhealthy masculine type really was an initiation for me to grow
Yeah,
and to
it's
learn.
perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect in how it all unfolded. And that's why, like, even in the climate we are in now, it's like we can't even understand what's going on because it's all unfolding as it should. And it's the light will be shone on all the darkness. And it's just, you have to, it's a state of openness and surrender because we have no control over it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I don't even know what the question was anymore, but I just went down
Yeah, I
talk.
know. It's
Hey, what's up, guys? We're just going to take a really quick break. Just so you know, every day I post some really awesome info on how women can get better results to getting lean in the kitchen and in the gym. So be sure to check me out on Instagram at natalie.newhart to take all of my unique secrets and start applying them today. All right, let's get back to the show.
okay. So how did this, because I know how mine started. I'm curious, how did your transition start? Okay, so we're done with CrossFit. We go on a trip, right?
Yes.
I'm assuming you're probably still working out like crazy, all that stuff, that's just all you know. Or did you actually, maybe you, like how, I'm just curious, how did that, because it's the first step that's the hardest to let
Mm.
go. How did that go? How did that occur?
Well, I think it took more than just like that step felt like a year. It was
Yeah.
a year
Oh
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I mean, it took me a
Maybe.
year too, but
Yeah.
yeah. But how did you start it? What did you look into? Maybe who did you surround yourself with? You know?
Yeah. Well, so actually, I think it started a little bit earlier. With my old partner, I actually got an abortion prior to the start of like maybe in September before like the 2018 CrossFit season. And that was a really hard choice to make, and I made it. And I'm really glad that I did, and I had the options to do that, the choice to do that. But that being said, it was a huge toll on my emotional and physical body. And I had no clue how to take care of myself. Like I said, when I was in pain, I would just like go work out. That was what I knew what to do. I knew how to move my body, but I had no idea how to like hold space for my body and for my emotions. So that really got me down this path. Like, okay, I'm living up here. I feel so numb and disconnected. Like, I have to figure this out. And I'm someone who will pursue, like, I'm curious because I love my body and I want to figure things out all the time. So I started reading about vaginas and women's reproductive health and just diving deep down this rabbit hole. And like that wound was really a way in for me to my wild feminine, as it were. So that really like kickstarted this like interest. And then once I got, basically just hammered in the world of CrossFit and just dragged through the mud, I was just like, I literally felt, and sorry for anybody who's in the Judeo-Christian tradition, but it felt like a crucifixion. Like I can remember feeling like I'm being burned. Like it was just burning sensation, and my heart goes out to I have a sister who struggles with mental illness, and like I can remember at that time being like, wow, I can empathize now with people who are in a state of absolute distress and turmoil, because I didn't want to shower, I didn't want to like clean anything. Like it was like, yeah, it was super rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure and it's but then all of a sudden I got this call from this Israeli student association, like, hey, we need you to come on this trip and help promote Israel through a positive light. I was like, yeah, I'm in. I love Israel because I've been there before. And this is the universe being like, all right, let's go. So I packed my bags for Israel. And then they flew me there. And then from there, I went to India. I went to Jordan. I went to Australia. And then I ended up in Peru, where I did an ayahuasca retreat.
Okay.
And so, and I hung out in this ashram in India and just got this huge
Cool.
dose of,
Damn.
I was by myself. I had no one else to turn to. So it was just me looking at myself.
Cool.
Yeah. And it was hard. And I read a lot of books. I meditated, for hours in a day. I did yoga, and I just went to all the holy places. I did songs every night, and
Oh my
um,
God.
it
You were
was
immersed in it.
yeah, it was a very spiritual journey, and it was the beginning of actually like understanding how to feel my heart.
Yeah.
And yeah, so and then I did this ayahuasca retreat. I would not recommend ayahuasca because what I learned about it now is you have to be there's consequences to taking that medicine, and it's kind of like the craze right now, but you got to be careful. Again, I'm a very spiritual person, but I learned that the shaman ultimately takes a piece of your soul, and
Mm.
yeah, so
Yeah.
and but I can always go get it back. I just have to search for it. Again, I'm like kind of out there, but I get that. But yeah, so I had this journey where this trip, this psychedelic trip where I was pulled out of my body. I really was able to express, like I saw like the darkness, and then I was pulled into this ocean of light. And that's
Mm.
where we all come from, and that's where we all return. And um so that really kickstarted my journey, but still wasn't ready to let go of a few things. Um and one of such was my partner that we had met, and he got me into this whole mess kind of thing. So um it was it's been, I would say, like a year of just me shedding. You know how, like, it's funny, I'm hanging out with Sam and Jen Dancer right now, but we've been talking about it, and I felt like it was a year of me shedding emotional fat. Like, and it's still happening,
Yeah.
like getting lighter and lighter and lighter, because I never
Mm.
took care of my spiritual body. I never took care of my emotional body. And we are taught in this society, like, we are emotionally lidded, and any kind of like huge emotional response is like grotesque or uncomfortable for people.
Yeah.
And
Soft,
so
flaky.
yeah, so I dove into psychedelic use. I dove into holotropic breath work, where people could hold space for me to rage and be upset and be angry and whatever. It wasn't even about CrossFit. It was about, my generational trauma. It was about collective trauma. Like, it all just unwinded. And I'm an intense person. Obviously, I do CrossFit, so I went intense on my emotional healing. And in a year and a half time, like, I also ended up getting a therapist as well. Like, she's this really rad transpersonal Jewish mystic, like psychologist, Carl Jungian style.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I worked hard, but I know how to do that. And I worked hard on my emotional and spiritual health because I knew I had to get this sound. I knew that
Yeah.
what I projected on the outside was not what I was feeling on the inside. And
Yeah.
basically everything in my life, and I do believe this, anything that happens in anybody's life is a mirror for you to look back inside, because we are
Mm-hmm.
all just refractions of light from the ultimate source. And we are here to grow and to experience. And so, as much as I wake up sometimes and I go over the terrible events of the CrossFit thing, I go over the terrible events of breaking up with someone I truly loved. It kind of plays on repeat in my head, but we have the choice every day to then, I'm like, you know what, it's kind of like loud up here, so I'm gonna drop into my heart. And I don't know why I'm getting so emotional about this, but it's been I'm so grateful that it all happened, because I came home to myself. And so, as much as I do feel anger and frustration, I can strike those from my heart. We all have the choice to do that and keep coming home to ourselves, because that is the most powerful hero's journey there is. And so I'm just grateful that I know how to live in my heart now, and I don't have to listen to my brain, and I know how to like love my pussy and my whole body. And um it's just like now I've reclaimed a lost side of myself. So for all the people watching, anything that you go through, like, it's all unfolding as it should. Stay the course, and yeah, you'll get through it to become a completely new person if you surrender and you let it happen. So yeah.
Yeah.
Woo!
It's intense, dude.
Yeah.
And I think, like, you know, because I can relate to that. And I still, you know, as I'm reaching out to everybody for these interviews, I'm thinking in my head what people think of me, right? And so I can totally relate to like thinking, you know, playing these stories in your head. You have, because it's an emotional, such an intense emotional event that happened. um but trying to look at it from a place of love,
Yeah.
you know, and it is exactly the reason why you are here, and this is your duty to serve others, you
Mhm.
know, and show them what they are, you know, what they're missing, you know. And you, so it's like, yeah, everything has happened perfectly as it should, you know.
Yeah.
And it all depends on how you choose to think about it, though.
Yes. Absolutely. And yeah, and I, it did take a lot of, like, I was humbled. I was deeply humbled. And you really, when shit hits the fan, you really get a great perspective on a new perspective on the life around you and the people you want in your life. And that
Yeah.
there are some people in this world that just don't want the best for you, and that you have to learn how to differentiate. And what I like, big life hero is Dr. Christiane Northrup, and she's always talking about like dodging energy vampires. And um but you have to know yourself in order to do that. And yeah, so like you said, it's all a journey, and now I am on this path of like really wanting to serve people. And
Yeah.
like how aligned is that? It's really cool.
Yeah, it's very,
Yeah.
very cool. And I mean, it's just so amazing. I think sometimes and a lot of us, we make this transition when we're forced to, right? Can you imagine if you would have made this transition if you weren't forced?
I think that would have been like so divine. I do know a couple people who have like, they kind of assessed the situation and were like, you know what, that's not for me anymore, and walked away from
Yeah.
CrossFit. And then I've also seen people who are able to like, for example, Sam and Jen Dancer are really good examples of being able to be in the CrossFit world but be an absolute light, no
Mm,
matter what. And even in the CrossFit world, there's quite a bit of unscrupulous characters, and but that's like in everything in life, right? And so you have to really know your values, and
that's
be
right.
grounded in who you are so that you can navigate that world. But it's all a learning process. And uh, yeah, I think, and this is why I'm on the path I'm on now. I'm getting my doctorate in acupuncture as we speak, and I'm just super invested in like yoni fitness and women understanding how to train within their cycles, how to train being pregnant. But I really want to
Cool.
work with a population that is younger, that so 15-year-old girls know how to honor and
Mm,
respect the temple with the athletic world, because nobody's talking about that.
yeah.
And they're just basically told to kind of shut down, and like, you just got to perform. And there is an aspect of it, but how can we create even more badassness by reclaiming both sides of that spectrum of left brain and right brain,
Yeah.
and really tapping into women's innate power, that again, we're not default men, we're women, and we have to respect that. And we have a cyclical nature and a built-in system to like rest and rejuvenate every month. And the veil between this world and the great mystery is very thin every time we're on our bleed. And so it's like, how do we work with that within the paradigm that we're living in, and how can we optimize that?
Hmm.
So that's kind of like the journey I'm on. And a lot of like Taoist sexology, and learning how to just basically use this vessel to be like the most optimized human you can be, and doing that through energy practices, and returning home to our vaginas and paying attention to them, because I have not I've yet to meet one woman who does not have some kind of menstrual irregularity or painful sex, painful periods, and painful birth. And it's like, that doesn't need to be happening. That's just something that's been conditioned into us as normal. It is not.
Right.
So how can we, that pain and the discomfort and the irregularities are literally our body being like, hey Emily, pay attention to me. So how can we, become clear on what those problems are, and how can we can heal it ourselves. Yeah.
So let's talk about how you were able to let go of what you were trained to believe of working harder and a ton, right? And that was the way of just, that's that's what we should do. How did
Yeah.
you start changing your training habits? How did you what started to go through your mind where you were like, you know what? It's okay that I don't do this for time, or don't do it RX, or like, this is where women are at right now. They think that it's all or nothing, and it's got to be done the way it's written, and everything's got to be checked off, and every day has to be hard regardless of how they feel. And it's just this terrible cycle. So how did you start breaking through that?
Well, again, like I said, this is constantly evolving. I kind of kept doing CrossFit for a little bit just to like keep it up. But it really wasn't where like I was like, I'm not finding a lot of joy in this. And so I was like, I'm just going to go do things that make me feel joyful. And really what I started to notice is that I'm kind of on a 3-day cycle where one day I want hard. I want to run. I want to get my heart rate up. I want to squat. I want to lift. One day my body calls for play. So I do slacklining. I go to a drum circle and dance it out. I play with my fire darts and poi. I'm kind of like, a little bit of a nerd on that. I'll go roll jujitsu. I'll go just do something more playful. And then one day is for nourishing movement. And so that's when I will do yoga. I will do yin yoga. I will chill out. I'll do more meditative stuff. I'll go for a long walk. And so really though, what it came down to was me creating a relationship with my body, and this is why women, we just love to live up here, and men too, right? We're just stuck up here. But when I started, this is what happened, and this is the exact process that I did. I started to feel frantic and like, oh my God, I gotta go I have to go be in the gym. I have to go, do 100 push-ups for time. Like it's this idea that we're falling behind, that we're not enough. And so as soon as I started to feel that, I immediately that was my sign too. Okay, I'm getting into a sympathetic state. This isn't where I want to be. I sit in meditation. I sit and I breathe for 10 minutes. After that 10 minutes, I then say, body, what do you need me to do? And most of the time for over the past couple of months, my body has said, rest. I need rest. And so that's when I would go have a bath. I'd maybe smoke a little bit of a joint and chill out, and just rest. And as soon as I started doing that, I felt like I got out of my own way. And all of a sudden, again, it was like a spiritual experience when I was in that bath, because the universe just flooded in and was like, thank you. You are listening to me. And all of a sudden I was like, I was like, hey, body, you're my mistress. You tell me what to do. You tell me how to, and I'll do it for you. And once you start creating that connection of actually listening to your body, and we always say, oh, listen to your body, listen to your body, but most of us aren't. We have this little inner critic athlete going like, oh, did you see that Instagram post of that girl? She's jacked. Like, you got to go harder. That's so not true. You have to work within your frame, your God-given frame, and the body that your ancestors gave you. It's perfect as it is. You have all the tools you need. You are an inner guru, and we just have to start listening to that. And but that takes stillness. The only way to get there is stillness. So if you're someone who loves to move and you love to be at the gym, I challenge you to be still more. what does it mean to sit in meditation? I saw, Natalie, that you do meditation now, and it's such a powerful way to start figuring yourself out. And it's uncomfortable as hell at first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It is so uncomfortable. That's the hard part, right?
Uh,
It's like this wall that you like, it just does not feel, you feel like you're doing something wrong. You should be doing this, this, and this, and this. You should be doing all these other things, but it is the only way through it. Like, and I think the reason why we it once you can learn how to use that breath to shut off the incessant need to do and go, then everything, like what you said, you know, it's just the universe thanks you. But you have to be able to do that four-sided breath so that the fight or flight system, the fear, shuts down. Because right now we're just all operating out of fear, like fear we're not good enough, we're not doing enough, and it's you can't create or relax out of that.
yes.
So as much as it's hard, you have to go through that meditation.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think that, you know, there's this concept in Taoism, I love Taoism, called busy backsun. And it's the Westerners' obsession with being busy back soon. And it's, the problem with that is that's such an energy leak and an energy dump, and you will be older, and you will, like, your body will degrade sooner. And so we have this idea that we always have to be productive and busy, but like, we don't understand that again, that embodiment, the feminine side of open, receptive, like, you get all the information you need from nature, from the universe, and then all of a sudden you are a more productive individual, because things get done when they need to get done, instead of just constantly in this work output mode. And so that's why, again, like, I always ask women too, like, why do you have resistance to, like, have a relationship with your own vagina? You'll let doctors put their fingers and speculums up there, but why can't we, like, be hanging out down there? So, you know, it's uncomfortable at first to, like, put your own finger in your own vagina and to even look at it and to love it, and, you know, with a hand mirror or whatever. But you then get past that, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh gosh, I really love my vagina, I love my breasts, I love my body. And then all of a sudden it's like meditation, you're like, yeah, I want to meditate because I want to hang out with myself, right? I want to, like, be able to see that archetype. It's an archetype, like you said, that of this fear of not being loved. We have to be worthy and we have to achieve in order to be loved. And it's so not true. You have all the love you need. There's a constant state of abundance. And I would say that is the wounded masculine that we're operating out of, which is this place of desperation, neediness, lack, having to prove, having to struggle. You don't have to struggle. So yeah, I think it is a hard process, but maybe that's what we're all being called home to do right now, because we're not going out, we're not running around, we're not just going to, right? It's literally
perfect timing.
It's perfect timing to be like, hey, come to Hearth and Home, and you better, like, make sure this vessel is clear. Yeah.
So great, dude. Man, I could talk to you for hours.
I know, right?
Like, seriously, like, oh yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about food, because the one thing that I realize is, you know, when I was just so obsessed with the go 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 mentality, I was obsessed with food. Like, it was just always on my mind. I couldn't, like, you know, I would be done eating and I'd be already thinking about the next food or the macros. And like, how has, like, your relationship with food changed? And like, yeah, I guess that, you know, your relationship with food, is it easier now that you have this freeing approach?
Absolutely. So, and I was very similar, like, and it is, when you start training and being in that go 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 mode, your nutrition and your body starts to reflect that. And it's really because I'm in traditional Chinese medicine, I'm learning all about, like, spleen qi and stomach qi, and, like, I can remember so many times where I just like eat my food super fast while I was on the phone, and that's just like a shock to your system, like, all the time. But my food relationship has completely changed, because I eat based off of intuition, but maybe within a model of, I really want to focus on meat and veggies. And I actually went up until recently, because I was having some like IBS issues and like skin issues, which were definitely due to emotional stress. Um, I went carnivore, so I just ate meat, and I ate nose to tail organ meats. I focused on nutrient density, um, but and so that was kind of like my fast for a little bit, just to like reset my system. But now, since I've been hanging out with Sam and Jen, I've really just been focusing on nutrient density and eating whole foods, finding organic, grass-fed, grass-finished beef from local ranchers. So these things are now things that I deeply care about that I probably didn't before. And I realize that the vibrational quality of your food matters. And so that being said, because I've understood this stillness, I'm not operating from an unconscious, like, I just need to eat. I just need to eat.
Yeah.
Because I'm resting more. So my body's able to rejuvenate itself. I'm more deeper into my self-sexual practices, which rejuvenate and provide energy in a way that food cannot. So yeah, I really have noticed that it's like I don't need to scarf down food like I did. And it's like it's very much more of a spiritual approach to food. And it's really, I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's like, yeah, once you do slow down and you don't have so much output, you find new ways to have input into your system. you you're nourished in lots more different ways. And
Yeah.
it's so cool that you bring that up, because I didn't really think about that, but I have noticed that I'm like, I could not eat for, like, I'll eat in the morning, or like I'll eat when I'm actually really hungry. And then, when food comes up again, then I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I should eat. And it's not like like I'm neglecting myself. It's just that I'm going based off of what I feel,
That's
instead of,
right.
feeding that like
Feel.
macro brain, right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so two more questions. All right,
yeah.
so do you think then, can you stay lean, right? Because we all want to be,
Mhm.
look good, naked, whatever.
Yeah.
Can you stay lean without tracking food and working out hard every day?
Yes. Yes. 100.
And yeah, and so how would you say, like, what are your top like 3 points in trying to do that?
I would say increase your water intake, like half your body weight in ounces, with trace minerals or sea salt in it. I chug an entire, not chug, but I drink a full one of these as soon as I wake up. So I would say more water all the time. Most people are just
Okay.
walking around so dehydrated. Um, Secondly, I would say focus on nutrient dense foods. Find your local farmer, get the highest quality food. It will make a huge difference in your satiety,
Yeah. Mhm.
and it will make a huge difference in how you feel. And when you know where your food is coming from, you kind of honor and respect it more, and you're like, man, I'm grateful for this delicious little bowl of food. So that really does change the mindset, instead of volume, volume, volume. And then the third one is that get still and listen to your body, because if you can get still, your body's going to ask you or tell you what it needs, and then you'll be able to find ways to nourish your body, instead of just wanting like treats, right? Or a Netflix binge, because those are like a disconnection piece. Like, your body's just trying to like get some kind of connection from you. Yeah, it's just grasping. So I would say those would be my top 3 points of really just having a more mindful approach to everything in your life. And it comes from slowing down. Yeah.
Comes
So
from slowing down.
yeah.
Awesome. Dude, thank you so much. Gosh, I want to hang out with you. Oh, hey, let's talk about where people can find more of you, because
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, so where can people reach you and hang out with you?
Yeah. So I run fitness adventure retreats down in Mexico. I'm starting to do like yoni fitness seminars with CrossFit gyms, and I'm gonna be treating people hopefully I know I will in the future, in the next couple of years here. But you can find me on Instagram at emily.and.abbott. You can find me on I just launched my new website. It's www.emily-abbott with 2 B's, 2 T's.com. And on there is like all of my offerings. I have a really fun brand called Psychedelic Gypsy where I sell some like cute tops and like fun gypsy clothes to work out in. And yeah, my blog and all my retreat stuff is up there. So go check it out. It's all super fun. And I feel like this is a year of not pushing for things, but like getting into alignment.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
very
yeah,
cool, dude. I
thank
will
you
be
so
checking
much.
out
This is
your
so much
website.
fun.
Yeah, it's so much fun, dude. So much fun. We're gonna have to hang out. So
Yeah. Are
there
you
you go, guys.
Colorado?
Yeah, I'm in Colorado.
Okay. I'm about to drive back
From California.
I'm in Illinois right now and head to California.
You should stop by.
Maybe
I'm
I'll
in the
stop
mountains.
by. Oh, dude.
So pretty.
Okay.
So pretty.
Yeah, okay, I'll message you.
Okay, yes, you can stay with us. We have a full house right now.
No way.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
great.
Yes way. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so we'll exchange. We'll make sure we stay in touch.
Yeah.
Okay, Em, I know you got to go. So thank you so much for being on here. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the next show.
Awesome. Thanks for doing this, Natalie.
No problem, dude.
Take care.
You too.